Hi there, my name is Kelly Herbig. I'm a virtual content specialist for special education, social studies, grades 3 through 5. And today I'm going to be showing you about a really cool activity from the PBS Learning Media website. It's an interactive westward expansion map. So, just a quick overview of PBS Learning Media. It's a free website that has so many great resources for teaching social studies. I did another video on it, so feel free to check it out, but I highly recommend that you play around on this website and search for some things that you're teaching because everything's free and everything is really well done. Today, though, we're going to take a closer look at their interactive westward expansion map, which I believe could really support your students, especially those with special needs, as they navigate that portion of your social studies unit on the USA, especially when writing that essay on the pros and cons of westward expansion. So, why use PBS Learning Media? Well, first, it makes planning a lot easier. This interactive activity is pre-made and done and effective. So, why not use it in our classroom instruction? This website also gives you access to a wide range of videos, articles, and primary sources, which rolling into my next reason can be really engaging for students. Sometimes looking at that primary source is what sparks that desire to learn more in them, to see the actual picture, the actual document from something that was happening in history. So, PBS Learning Media provides all of this, and it's really easy to search for and find these resources. So, like I mentioned before, today we're going to be looking at the grade 4 westward expansion lesson and specifically looking at this really cool interactive map that will help your students. So, in this video, you're going to learn how to access the website. We will look at the features of the interactive map and how it works, and I'll show you how you can share this map with your students. Let's get started. All right, here it is all loaded. It took a minute, but it's worth it, I promise. Really quickly, though, I want to show you how to access this because this web address right here is complicated and there is no reason why you should have to type that into your search bar. The best way that I have found to find this is by simply searching interactive westward expansion map PBS Learning Media. So typing in the website that you're looking for the resource on and the resource is usually a really great way to find something. And there it is. It is the first thing that comes up. So this right here is actually the website that I think would be the easiest to share with your students because this button right here launches the activity. But this is where you can read more about this interactive map and this resource, what it covers. And if you sign in, you can even see which standards it's addressing. So here is the Westward Expansion Interactive Map. The first feature that's really cool is that you can change the year up here. So we have 1790, 1800, 1810, 1820, 1830, 1840, and 1850. So if you're doing this with students or if you're asking students to explore, I recommend starting at 1790. And what you'll do over here is you'll select a feature to explore. They have states and territories, major cities, native lands, trail routes, major canals, railroad networks. You can also opt to show the geologic features and present day states. So I'll start with states and territories. So by clicking states and territories, it's now showing me all of the states and territories that existed in 1790. And I can choose to show labels. Next, if I want to see how the states and territories changed over time, I simply just have to move the year up. And you can watch how the states and territories changed over time from 1790 to 1850 and back again. Now you might want to look at major cities. What you could do is you can click major cities and you can click show labels and you can leave states and territories on. This is if you want to look at both at the same time. So now I'm looking at the states and territories and the major cities over time. If I just want to look at cities, I would uncheck states and territories, and you'll see how cities grow over time. Native lands is also a really interesting one that I think is important to study. So here, this little key shows you that these are all native lands, and students, by clicking through, can see what happened over time to native lands up until 1850. The trail routes are also another interesting thing to study. So in 1790, there were only these two trail routes. This is where people were traveling. And as you and your students click through, you will see how the trail routes expanded as time went on, and more people expanded to the west. Another great point for discussion is the major canals and looking at how that changed over time. Let me go this way. What I really love about this interactive tool is that it's really visual and great for getting students to notice patterns. So you can ask a lot of really thoughtful questions here, like what happens to native lands over time? Why do you think that happened? Or how did the major cities and canals grow from 1790 to 1810? You can have students even ask their own questions, wonderings, wanting to know more about this. Because what this does is give you a really interactive and clear overview of what happened, but you have to infer why. So, this is a really great resource for having students to generate their own questions. Why were major canals and railroad networks growing over time during westward expansion? Which is something that they can find out in their further research. I also love how you can select certain things, like you might want to look at native lands while you look at trail routes to compare those two things. So students really have that choice to see that as those routes grew, the native lands did not. You also have the option down here to show geological features if you want to have conversations with students about how the geological features affected the different aspects and growth of westward expansion, or you can even show present day states to give them a little more context. I think this resource is really, really interactive and fun. You can do it in a small group and show your students the map by sharing your screen. You can send them the link directly so that they can work on it on their own. As a reminder, you can click this link right here to share, or you can actually share this link too. It will work. It should let them launch right into it, but it's always good to have this link as a backup in case it doesn't work on a student's device the first time. But you can do this in a small group. You could do this whole class. You can have students work in partners to explore. And I think you can do this remote or in person if the students have devices. It's a really great resource to notice patterns, ask questions, and get a visual representation of how our country changed over the westward expansion.